Hi guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to another Premier Division review show. 5 games to get through this weekend. Some interesting results as we have every weekend, I guess. And let's start off in the UCD Bowl, Daz, where UCD drew 1-0 with Bohemians. Promise obviously was back and get Bowles the lead after 6 minutes. He did play against Shells as well, actually, to be fair. And Sam Todd equalised after 68 minutes. I didn't catch any of this, I'll be honest, but I heard that was a free header. No one close to him. Overall, apparently, Talbot actually had a good game, and by all accounts, seemed to keep UCD at bay as such. How did you see it overall? You've obviously seen the game.
Well, look, it's bad when James Talbot's getting a great game against UCD and he's our best player. That's never a good start. God, where to start with this one? Lackluster, disappointing, frustrating, upsetting. No teamwork, no teametic, no pride. But God, this is a very static game. There was mistakes all around. They weren't moving as a unit. They weren't pressing as a unit. They weren't passing as a unit. Passing was off. The work rate wasn't there. UCD were getting in. Kerrigan and Whelan could have had goals. They just didn't. Talbot just had a great game. I thought he had a very good game, and like obviously people are saying it, but I think his game was quite underrated. He kept UCD out quite a lot, and he made a lot of brave saves and brave calls, and he had a very good game. And God, I don't know what the defense was doing. I don't know what they were at. It was shocking. It was absolutely madness. And then obviously young Max Murphy played on the left side and switched over to the right then at half time. And we made a few changes. But my God, like, this is one of the worst sports performances I've seen in a while. It was actually so bad. And I think first of all, I want to give credit to UCD. Like, they went at us. Obviously, we were away to UCD, but they gave us the game. They made chances. They made opportunities. They had shots. They put passes together. They were fast. They pressed.
Will they be disappointed not to have won the game, Daz, from a UCD point of view, do you think?
Yeah, JC, yeah, you would definitely. This is one of UCD I think should have came away with a win. And we didn't deserve a draw. Both deserved to lose that game. We did not deserve a draw out of that. We got lucky to get a draw out of that. And it could have very easily have been 2-3-1 to UCD. Very easily. And like, UCD's overran us. Like, I'm still shocked about it. Very disappointed.
How are you finding the balance of midfield? I've obviously seen quite a few Bowls games live and on telly this season. The balance of midfield for me doesn't seem right or something.
Look, we were never going to replace Ross Tierney, first of all. We all know that. Secondly, Dawson Devitis hasn't been at it this season. There is a player there that we all know it's there. I think he needs to play further up the field a little bit, maybe just behind the striker a bit more. Flores is doing okay, he's taking set pieces, he's trying to make things happen, but there's not too many games where he's lasting the full 90 minutes. He's coming off, he's coming on. There's times where he's just into him. He's not that kind of key Buckley player, that defensive midfielder player. We don't really have one like that at the minute, and I think we're lacking that big time, and it's exposing us in the midfield, and we're losing to the defence then.
JP, obviously, it's a point for UCD. They still haven't won this season, despite obviously putting in a decent performance from their point of view against Bowles. Probably feeling like they should have come away with the win. They need to get wins soon, particularly with the teams around them actually winning over the weekend as well, don't they? Because we don't want another Longford here, do we?
No, you certainly don't. You want the bottom of the table to be just as competitive as the top of the table is going to be. But one thing UCD will take from it is heart, that they possibly could have won the game. What our teams will take from it is that UCD is not going to be no pushover. They will hurt you if you're not on your game. And from what Daz is saying, the Bows weren't on their game, and we're very fortunate they come away with a point. And the next team that doesn't be at 100% against UCD might not be as lucky. They get a point. Now I know Andy Myler he'll be looking for points on the board, especially with Drogheda and Harps both winning over the weekend. But what UCD will take from this is that they've got a point. They've 3 points. They've 3 draws in 6 games, and they're still only 2 points adrift. So they'll not be too disappointed because they're still in there. But they will obviously, yes, as you say, they try and get the first one under their belt ASAP. Just they put a wee reminder under the likes of Harps, Drogheda, Shelbourne, that they're not here to make up the numbers, that they're actually here to compete and take points off every team that they come up against.
Yeah, I suppose on the Finn Harps, and I suppose that they put in a bit of a statement win from their point of view to win their first game of the season, 3-0 St.Patrick and Shelbourne. Boyle right in half time, which was a crucial goal. Tourish in 68, McWoods in 88. Shelbourne, as I said, they struggled to score goals. It's hard to see where the goals are going to come from, but now they're starting to leak a few as well. And it's a timely win for Finn Harps. As I said, first win of the season, massive win on the road. I actually tipped them to win, but I didn't tip them to win as comprehensively as this. Some of the defending from Shelbourne, though, particularly for the second and third goal, it's just, if you look at it again, they're like pawns. Like, they're just standing there. Like, you know what I mean? And as Finn Harps, I think for the third goal, it was obviously free kick and it's laid on. I don't care what the score is. If it's 2-0 after 87 minutes, still try and defend properly. You 3 or 4 Finn Harps lads moving in the box against about 7 or 8 Shells lads who just stood there. I mean, for me, that's not good enough. And, I think Duff has to sort out a few things very quickly, because suddenly Shelbourne could essentially be down there as such, with the likes of Drogheda or Harps or even below them in the league.
Well, look, Keith, to be honest with you, I was never expecting Shelbourne to be mid-table or to be pushing for Europe. And I think
either was I personally. No,
I think you're delusional, or anyone is delusional if you're thinking that they were going to be pushing for Europe, even with Damien Duff. They're not going to be. Like, staying up is priority for them this season, no matter how to do it. But God, Damien Duff has to have a serious look at this team. Like, that was someone that's defending with that was shocking, And I think firstly, just look at the Finn Harps coming away from home, you could see what it meant to the team when they scored that first goal. Every single player got together and they're looking united together. And I think you could just tell from that they're going to go on and win this game. But to win by 3 goals, a clean sheet, going the whole way back up to Donegal, what a win it is for them. And I think that strike up front, Mihalovic, Bush, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments about that. Mihalovic, I think I'm saying his name right. I think he's...
Yeah, Mihalovic,
I think he's an okay player. I think he's, Finn Harps player. Do you know what I respect to Finn Harps? I think he's going to do well for them. And his whole play was good. He held the ball up. His head up was up. He was looking for a pass. He was trying to make things happen in the attacking third.
He did well for the first goal, where he actually set up the goal essentially for Ethan Boyle. You could argue Webb could do better, but it does take a slight nick of one of the Shelbourne defenders.
Yeah,
Mihalovic makes that goal essentially with the movement and the strength he showed on the left-hand side.
Definitely does. And Yoyo Maddy and beside him as well. Finn Harps kind of playing with 2 strikers up front. Not many teams do that, so that can be a handful when the strikers are on their day. You've got a 2v4 at the back, or 2v3 if you've got a full back gone forward, which Shelbourne was left exposed at times, and Harps got forward in numbers. But I know 2 of their goals came from set pieces, and that's bad from a team to concede from set pieces with 2 goals. And I think the goalkeeper probably could have done a bit better, maybe for the second one. It was in his own box. I think he could have maybe set his defenders up a bit better, made it more alert of it. But there was no one leading in the back to stop that attack. There was no one actually, getting them up, getting them out once the second ball was kind of made. And Finn Harps followed it up. If you look back at the goals, you'll see that 3 or 4 lads inside the 6-yard box, all onside. So any one of them could hit in, and they were playing kind of a high reward kind of risk kind of game, and it paid off for them. And score 3 goals, they'll be delighted with that. And I'm very, very happy for Finn Harps that they got that. What a win it is for them. But Damien Duff has to have a serious look at this team, and he's going to have to do a lot of defensive work, I think, with Shelbourne.
Yeah, I mean, JP, that'll be concerning for Shelbourne, because, as I said, they were struggling to score goals, to create chances, and but when you can see goals like that, it makes it even worse. Even in this game, I don't think they really created anything. Correct me if I'm wrong with the Shelbourne fans, but there was nothing that they really created in the game either. And if you're not creating chances, you don't look like you're going to score goals. There comes a time when you probably do start to concede goals as well. And obviously, Finn Harps took a huge advantage of that as well. But also, if you're in a dogfight later on in the season, let's say, and Harps and Shelbourne are down there, I'm fancying Finn Harps to come out of that dogfight ahead of Shelbourne.
At the minute, yes. From what I saw, Shelbourne seemed to create a wee bit more than what they had been creating, but not a lot. From what I haven't seen Finn Harps this season properly, but from what I've been hearing is that they have been creating the chances, they just haven't been taking them. And it was possibly that there was going to be a team going to be on the end of a hiding or somewhat, but you touched on there the second and third goal was poor defending, but I think the first goal, Mihalovic does well against J.R. Wilson, is it?
Or,
He does well against him. And then after that, I think it's poor defending. He plays it in, and there's a crowd of bodies, and nobody really gets a block on, and then it goes through the goalkeeper. And I thought
that was the
against
team,
Derry,
JP, with nearly all the goals in a way. They were a little
yeah,
different, but
it
there was
is.
a block of bodies there with all the
Yeah,
goals. And nobody
and
seemed to react to anything.
nobody in a red shirt anyway. It was similar to similar to the Derry goal against Shelbourne. The keeper makes a save, and there's 3 or 4 Derry men lined up. They tap it in. So I think
it's a bit schoolboyish, isn't it, JP? That's a bit schoolboyish, like, to be fair.
It is because you should be alive in your box, especially defenders. You should be alive, ready for the rebound. They weren't, especially for the second and third goal. They weren't. The first goal, they should have done better. They should have closed it down. But take nothing away from Harps. They created the chances. They scored the goals this time. They've 3 goals, 3 points. And as you touched on, if this is the same squads come the back end of the season, and they're competing either in Toka or Finn Park, and they get away from the other. I think when you look at the 2 teams, and I think you have to put your money on Harps if it's coming the back end. But I think Duff is trying to make Shelbourne hard to beat first and foremost. I think he's trying to build from the back. So you could take positives from that. But he'll be disappointed because he's drew with UCD. He's lost to Finn Harps. The only team he's beaten is Drogheda. And I'm sure he'll be disappointed with the start that they've made. Because they'll need to start creating chances and scoring goals, otherwise they'll get dragged into a dogfight.
Absolutely. Finn Harps have a habit of going through a run of games where they're struggling, and then they might go on a good run. So it'll be interesting to see if they do go on a good run now after that. When it finished in the Loud Derby, Drogheda United won Dundalk 0. I think this was the first time Drogheda beat Dundalk at heading the game, Dash United Park, since 2014, which is something I hadn't really thought of, but I believe that to be the case. And Dean Williams scored a penalty in 49 minutes. I was at the game as well, and I have to say the first half was quite poor overall. I think Hubin should have scored for Dundalk, though, and McCarry, I think, cleared one off the line. I'm not sure if it was McCarry or Boyle. It was hard to see from my vantage point, but first half was pretty even. Second half, when Drogheda got the penalty in 49 minutes, they were the better side after that. The penalty, it's a bit contentious. Unfortunately, I didn't see a replay of the penalty, but I thought from seeing it very quickly in first instance, I thought he took Darren Nugent down. But a lot of people are saying that they don't think it was a penalty. I haven't had the benefit of a replay. So just on first instinct, I thought it was a penalty. So I stand to be corrected there, to be fair. But after that, I thought Dundalk were very poor. I expected at some point that Dundalk would throw the kitchen sink and Drogheda. It never came. Drogheda, every time they broke, they defended brilliantly, Drogheda, to be fair, as well. Something they haven't done the last few weeks. So that will give them a lot of confidence going forward. Adam Foley had his best game, I think, for Drogheda. He was outstanding. He smashed the bar from brilliant effort. He took on about 3 or 4 Dundalk players, smashed the bar. He had another chance after good work from Chris Lyons and another shot from the edge of the area, he wide. And it looked like, to be honest, if anything, Drogheda were going to get second, and Dundalk were highly unlikely to get an equaliser. But even, the last 5-10 minutes, injury time, you think Drogheda are 1-up. Surely something's going to come from Dundalk, some form of kitchen sink. Never came, to be honest. It really never came. And ultimately, they were fairly untroubled. And I think Drogheda would be absolutely delighted, not only to win the Loud Derby, but the way they won it. Like, after conceding so many goals lately, conceding so many chances in games, and to come away with a good battling 1-0 win, like, it couldn't have been any better, in all honesty. Daz, what do you think of Drogheda and Dundalk, I suppose, at this minute in time?
Yeah, well, I think that was a great assessment that you made of the match there. Obviously,
I was there, so I want to be a decent assessment.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it was spot on. Everything you said, well, I completely agree. And anyone who has to watch it, make sure you check out that vlog, because you get in there and you can see everything that happens and all. It was a good one. And look, Drogheda would be delighted that they got one over Dundalk and kept a clean sheet, like you said, after going on a run of conceding so many goals. And Dundalk would probably go into this a bit cocky, thinking we could put 2 or 3 past these to win the Loud Derby, being front page newspapers, if you will, in League of Ireland terms, at the back of them. But wasn't to be the case. And Drogheda are kind of showing their team and to kind of work together as a team. Whereas I think Dundalk, they are a good team, but they're more kind of individuals, if you will. And probably meant more to Drogheda at this time going into this game, to try and get the win. And what a way to actually go and do it, and to add 3 points to the board that they mightn't have been expected to get. And it really shut up their rivals, and hopefully they can put together a run now going forward and try and get a few more points on the board over the next month. Even another 4, 5, 6 points over the next handful of games would be a great return for them going forward. And I suppose looking at it from the Dundalk perspective, they were away from home. They didn't make a lot of chances, like you said. Didn't make a lot of chances in the first half. They didn't look like they were going to hurt Drogheda. And as you said, as the game went on, they didn't actually put anything up to them. So, we've often seen, if you will, Dundalk of old, where you'd be kind of nervy with a 1-0, kind of lead and going into the 88th minute or that. That's the kind of time Dundalk to throw everyone forward. Next minute, it's all Dundalk. And many
they did, to be fair, sorry to interrupt, they brought McMillan on to play something up from Hooban, but nothing changed the dynamic of the game at all. I thought they get crosses in from left or right, because Hooban's good in the air, we know that, and McMillan's good in the air. And there was no, they obviously had a little bit of the ball, don't get me wrong, but there was no point, there was no last ditch. Geez, that was close, you know what I mean, from a Drogheda point of view, or Hearts and Mouths. Now, Drogheda fans might have been a bit like that, because that's a natural thing when your team is leading, but as me watching, you were untroubled as such by Dundalk getting an equaliser. It was highly unlikely they were going to equalise,
Yeah, and look, I think this could be something that might, Dundalk might look at this now and be like, what were we doing there? And it might make them more dangerous now going back to Drogheda in the future. And when Drogheda go to Dundalk, they're not going to want to let that happen again. And especially in the next 2 games, I'm sure they're not going to let that happen, because that's not, Dundalk don't really like that. And they're all clearly having a bit of an off day, if you will. And Drogheda are kind of just on form on the day. And, they came up on top. And look, we have to give them full credit at the end of the day. They got the 3 points, they got the 1-0 win, they got the clean sheet. What more did they want? They're delighted with it. And I'm delighted that they got the win and they got the Derby win. And it's brilliant for them. And look, Dundalk has to put it behind them, and they'll have to focus on the next games going forward. And Drogheda will hopefully gain some confidence from this now going forward, and get a few more wins and draws on the board.
JP, it's funny, I'm just looking at the table here, and I noticed Dundalk are 5th place with 1 win and 7. That's crazy when you think about it. 1 win and 7, and you're in 5th place in the table. If someone had said that at the start of the season, you'd have 1 win and 7, you're thinking bottom 3, probably max third bottom.
Yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is. Drogheda have 2 wins under their belt, and they're below them. But in saying that, Dundalk have had quite a few 5 draws, and against Derry they were 2-1 up. Against Bows they came from behind twice. They must have sitter lit on against Shamrock Rovers. So there's 3 games where they could possibly have nicked the win. Could have easily lost at the same time as well. So Stephen O'Donnell probably will be happy that he's 1 win in his first 7 and he's still sitting in 5th place. But he'll be looking for this, put a string of wins together, no doubt about it. They'll be hurting with this result. First time they've lost, they Drogheda at United Park. As you say, in years, I think they lost to Oriel last year. But I think everyone was possibly winning there last year, given the circumstances. But but look, for Drogheda, it's a fantastic result, because a lot of people were questioning them because they'd only picked up 3 points in the whole season, and that was a win against UCD where they still managed to concede 2 goals despite winning the game. They'll be, as Daz touched on, they'll be delighted with a clean sheet as well. Saw them on Monday night. They started off brightly against Derry. They had the first couple of chances, but the first time Derry got forward, they scored from it, and Derry pretty much controlled the game after that without being good.
Being full gear,
But Drogheda did look a bit dangerous. They did show that if you allowed them to be, they could cause you problems. So I don't know. I know Daz talked there about maybe Dundalk, and they're thinking they would get won by 2 or 3, and possibly their fans probably thinking along them lines. But you're going into a derby, you're obviously going to think that. I'm sure the Drogheda fans, the players, they were all up for it. It seemed like they wanted it more. Haven't seen the penalty incident, but you said from first view you thought it was a penalty. The referee,
my view and first view, the only view I had, obviously, and it was just one of those that happened quickly, but it looks like Darren Nugent was clumsily taken down the box, in my opinion. But some Dundalk fans have said to me, again, it's hard to know, but they said they've seen the replay and they thought he went down he dived, but I can't say for sure. I can only give my first. And from the referee and linesman's point of view,
They only
I
get
would
one look
blame
at
them.
it too.
I was going to say, I wouldn't
They,
blame them for giving a penalty because it did look as such.
they only get one look at it as well. Like they haven't got the luxury of video replays and but Drogheda, they'll look to kick on from this now. Dundalk will look to use this probably as a wake up call. They start putting wins together, turning the draws into victories, because if they see now that if you don't turn draws into victories, it can quite easily go the other way, which it has done on Friday night. But it's a massive one for Drogheda because with Harps winning on Friday night as well, that's the kind of group that they're going to want to be in. They've closed the gap to Shelbourne. They've kept the gap they Harps, and they've increased the wee gap a wee bit to UCD. Not much, but we're only 7 games in. I'm sure Kevin Doherty will be delighted with the clean sheet and the 3 points, and the only thing is for Drogheda now going into an international break, so they can't build that momentum. That momentum's kind of taken away from them, but it'll be something to keep them on their toes for afterwards.
Yeah,
it's interesting to say that one.
Go on.
I was going to say it's interesting JP says that, because normally Bows end up going on a good run and then it's international break and then we're like 2 weeks without a game. Hopefully the international break came at the right time, I think, for Bows this time, and a few teams, to try and regroup together and try and sort out systems and sort out issues each club has been having in the game and playing, how to play and how to set up.
Absolutely. I'll tell you one team it hasn't come at a good time for, really, I suppose, Derry City following their 2-1 win against Patrick at the Brandywell. This was a game of screamers, Patchen after 4, Grivosty after 47, and Patchen deep into injury time again. Before we go into the game, I'll go to JP first because he was at the game. I think it's been an excellent start for Derry generally. To have 4 wins and 2 draws, given the fixtures they've had, and 2 of them to nick in the dying embers against Shamrock Rovers at St. Patrick's Athletic. In this particular game, they were without Manny Smith, the attacking threats of Manny Smith, which they haven't really had yet, really. Michael Duffy as well, McElhenney, etc. A lot of people say he probably missed half the season anyway, but still, you're missing those attacking threats, and you come away with the 3 points against Pats. It looked like a really good performance from what I've seen, particularly the first half. I think from a Derry point of view, JP, how did you see it overall?
It was a game of 2 halves. Well, say a game of 2 halves. The first half, Derry dominated it. They took the lead in 4 minutes.
Yeah.
St. Pat's responded well. They could have got back on it straight away. I think I can't mind Billy King. Sorry, had the shot was saved by Brian Maher. But then Derry started to control the game again. Derry kind of targeted the right back spot of St. Pat's, because all the play was coming down that. Daniel Lafferty had kind of pushed up on Scott. Will Patchen had made sure that if he was going to be on the ball, he was going to be in that area. Jamie McGonigal was playing in the channel between the right back and the right centre back. He was playing in that channel. So they obviously had done their homework, because that was a weakness in St. Pat's. And we took the lead. We had a couple of chances that came from that area of the pitch. McGonigal got in near the end of the first half. Pats were sloppy on the ball, came to Patchen, he slipped it into McGonigal, and he's tried to give the keeper the eyes and go to near post, and he's hit the post. But there was a couple of chances where it fell to Derry in the box, and it didn't quite sit properly. I think there was one chance for Ronan Boyce where he was stretching. They hit it, so we kind of got the lift on it, where if it had fell nicely, he probably would have scored. St. Pat's came out in the second half, took the game to Derry, got the equaliser. I think it was a bit of a fluke, to be honest. But look, it was a great goal.
We have to give him a bit of credit for that one.
It's a great goal. No, it's a great goal. It's a great goal. But I think he was trying to just put the ball back in the box, and he's miskicked it, and probably does that again this next week, and he puts it over bar. But look, great finish, and it looked like it gave St. Pat's a wee bit of foothold in the game. Forrester, he seemed to play deeper in the first half. Was about 10-20 yards further up the pitch, where he can affect the game, which he did do quite a lot.
JP, I'll just cut in there, because I think Tim Clancy talked about that Derry actually, when Pats were on top, they changed to a box midfield. The Pats seemed to struggle to deal with that then, because Pats obviously have Forrester and O'Reilly in midfield, And the fact that Lennon's obviously out injured at the moment, they don't really have any other options in the middle of the park. I just thought that was very clever from Rory Higgins to say, all right, if we get 4 against 2, we're going to neglect the influence that Forest has in the game as well. That seemed to change things up a little bit.
Yeah, it did. I think he made that substitution around maybe between the 60 and 65th minute mark. Could have been a bit early, I'm not sure. But for the first 15, 20 minutes, it just was some Pats in the second half. It was some Pats. Forrester was dictating the play. Then Higgins then took Akintunde off, put on Brandon Kavanagh. Totally changed the game. Kavanagh was pushing up. As you say, it was 4v2 in midfield. Derry overran them. Patchen then started to come back in the game with about 10, 15 minutes to go. And that's when Derry started to really... Derry just... You talked about Dundalk not throwing the kitchen sink at Drogheda, but that's what Derry... All right, they didn't have a lot of chances, but they did pin some Pats back. Chanting some Pats fans after the game. They kind of commented on Clancy still making attacking substitutions, but he was made attacking substitutions, but they were still playing deep. It was before we'd actually scored. We had a great advantage played by the referee, where Kavanagh, who didn't seem to be playing in a position, he just seemed to be given a free license to go follow the ball, and he's done well. He's laid it into Lafferty, and you think Lafferty's going to score, and Joseph Anang's made a great save with his face. And from that moment on, that got the crowd up. It got the players in the pitch up, and Derry just kept going and going and going. And eventually, when the ball came to Patchen, from memory, I don't think there was some Pats fan or some Pats player behind them, as in they were all maybe camped on the edge of the 18-yard box, which shows you that some Pats were trying to hold on.
Came back. Yeah.
And it's an absolute great strike, because it looked as if he was going to shit, because Ronan Boyce was in acres on the right. It looked like he was going to play it out there, but he just shipped, and he just put his laces through it, and I think it maybe bounced in front of the keeper. I don't know, but it was a great strike, great celebrations. It's the second time now we've won the game in the 93rd minute in the Brandywell against the two teams that we feel that we're going to be in the round this season, St. Pat's and Shamrock Rovers. And the place was absolutely bouncing, and it was bouncing before, and it just went from 0 to 100 for the next 4 or 5 minutes of injury time. And it's a great statement from Derry, because that's, I say, 4 wins, 2 draws, the fixtures that they've had, and they've a game in hand as well. So it's a great start. That's all it is. But we're only just coming up to a quarter of the way through. So we'll be looking to get McElhinney back. I'm hearing Duffy's injury not as bad as first feared, so he might only be a few months rather than the season. So if he can stay in there and he gets back, and maybe get Matty Smith back after the international break, it's all looking rosy so far for Derry, but still a long way to go.
Yeah, I suppose that from a Pat's point of view, I think Derry deserved to win the game, to be honest with you. But you're disappointed if you let in a goal that late to lose. It would have been a brilliant point for Pats, actually, wouldn't it? And so they'd be disappointed, because they had lost 2 games before that. I know they're winning games. They're kind of winning and losing. They're not drawing games, which is sometimes a good thing. But they'll be very disappointed in the manner that they lost it at the end, I think, will they?
Yeah, they definitely will be. I think realistically, look, any team would be disappointed to lose like that.
Yeah.
Kind of the life area, when you've held them for so long, even if it's going to be draw or win, when you've been holding a team like Derry for so long, and it gets to that stage of the game when someone lets your guard down, or a moment of brilliance that someone can produce and get the goal and they get the win, it sucks it out of you. It's massive 3 points gained for Derry, and it's a massive loss then for Pats. It's the way it's going for some teams, and obviously Bows, we play Derry next, and I'm not really not too looking forward to facing you now, JP. Let me say so myself, because Derry are they're becoming a force now this season, and you can start to see
that would be typical Bowles to win that match. To be honest with you, that's the match Bowles would win. That's
the way they beat some Pats.
You know what I mean? That's the way Bowles are, really. Like, we won't go too much into it, but they could, draw UCD one week, come out and beat Shamrock Rovers the next week. That's what they are. But like you say, Pats will be disappointed with that going into the international break with that defeat as well. But I suppose we'll move on to the final game: Shamrock Rovers, Sligo Rovers, the Rovers derby. This was just a mad game. I'll start with Daz here. This was just a mad game. I mean, Fitzgerald gets Sligo the lead after 80 minutes with a lovely header. It's a perfect header.
Great
Can't say no more.
Perfect
Yeah,
game.
absolutely fantastic. Great ball by Hamilton. Keena then scores after 30 on great work to get into position to score. Brilliant finish. His 5th of the season. He started really well, but terrible defending by Barry Cotter. I'm not really sure what he's doing. And do you know what makes it worse? He actually has his head up when he's passing it back. That's what makes it worse. It gives it straight to, he did give it straight to Keena, wasn't it himself? And, just amazing stuff. Sligo 2 up, and you think this is a serious statement from Sligo. Rovers came back in the second half, definite penalty in set 63, in which Burke finishes, and an OG by, I think it might be McDonald, even though they said Mata, I think it was McDonald, to be honest, on 81 minutes. And then Sligo are hanging on for a point. And in the end, I think both teams are relatively happy with the point. And from a Shamrock Rovers point of view, it could be a little bit of a statement if they can kick on now, because we're 2 down. They've already lost 2 games. They're in big, big trouble in this game, but they got back to get the draw. That's what do you think?
Look, it shows Shamrock Rovers' quality, obviously, to be able to come back, and their character and their strength to be able to do so, because the goals Sligo got were brilliant. Like, they're really, really good, top-class goals. Like, they're top goals. And look, especially the first goal, I was really well aimed into the net. Like, no goalkeeper was saving that. No goalkeeper in this league was saving that, or let alone a good few other leagues you could think of. Not many keepers would have actually kept out of the net. And look, it was perfect. It was very, very good goal. It's probably going to be one of my goals of the month, really, I think, anyway, so far. It was well worked. It was a perfectly aimed ball in, and I'm not sure too sure what Horde is doing. Very flat-footed.
Maybe just gets out in front,
An experienced player like him, I don't really think he should be letting them in, but I can't really take too much away from the goal, because I thought the goal was just really, really good. Nothing Manus could do about it, really. And obviously the second one then again, to get in, it's just a really good finish again, and it's good teamwork to get up the pitch the way they did, to get past the Shamrock Rovers players, to get a good few dribbles past them, a good few passes, keep the ball on the ground, and look, they put it away from the keeper, and suddenly they're 2-0 up. 2-0 up, clean sheet, and you're thinking, they're going to do something here, but Keith, like I've said many times this show, Shamrock Rovers, and I hate saying our team, you can never write off. You could be winning 3 or 4-0, and you could still be thinking he's could still come back. And look, they do, and they often have done it, and they've done it time and time again. And look, they've shown again their character and quality this season again, and the fights that they all have for that jersey. That's a really, really good thing, a really, really positive thing to have in the team. Be able to come back from 2 goals down, concentrate, and get the draw, and put behind you, and move on to the next game, and hopefully not make them mistakes again going forward. Silly mistakes, because they're better than that. The mistakes they made in that game, the individual, I think, mistakes they made, I think they're all better than that, and they all know that themselves. I just think as well, there was no one beside Horror. For the first goal, I think, which is a bit, the fullback was too far up the field. He should have got back, I think, to be helping them out, which he wasn't. So areas of concern for them. For Sligo, like you said, look, they did score 2 good goals, and I think they probably would have took a point against Shamrock Rovers going into it. Realistically, they probably would have. So, obviously, you don't want to be 2-0 up and to lose it. They're not going to be happy about that. But to not concede anymore, they'll be happy about it. And the overall, like you said, both teams will be happy with a point. I think Shamrock Rovers obviously would have aimed to go out and be getting the win, and to be the one going 2-0 up. But I'm sure they'd rather come back from 2-0 down and be going 2-0 up and throwing it away, really. Look, they should be happy with a draw as well. I think it's a fair result for both teams as well.
JP, I think from Shamrock Rovers' point of view, it's no use going out and getting a result like that after being 2 down and struggling the next few weeks or the next few games. It has to be a kickstart for them now and a foundation point, doesn't it, really?
I think they have to start. They have to start now. Use this as, look, they've got out of jail. They were 3-0 down. They got back into the game. It was a definite penalty. I don't know what Lewis Banks was having a go around the Lions for. When I saw the highlights, he was having a go around the Lions. But I think when you watch it, the defender hangs a leg and he brings him down. It's still more penalty.
It was lazy enough.
It was lazy because it turned into trouble. There were still defenders there to try and cut it out. So it was lazy, and I don't know why Banks was having a go definite penalty. But for Sligo, they would have went in there. They would have took a point going into the game. They'd be disappointed being 2-0 up. Touched on it there. Sean Hoare was a wee bit flat-footed, and Will Fitzgerald gets steals a run on him, heads it in the bottom corner. Great header. And Shamrock Rovers, now they've lost 2 games this season, haven't they? 2 games.
That would have been a
Derry,
loss. Yeah, exactly. If they
that
lost,
would have been another loss. So they've had
question
3
mark.
games against Derry, Pats, and Sligo from the top 4 last year, and they haven't won any of them. It could be a concern for Shamrock Rovers because as they're dropping points, Derry, who are being tipped to challenge them, are picking up points, and they're picking up points in the same manner that Shamrock Rovers were picking them up last year, deep into injury time, stuff like that there.
And even from Sligo's point of view, similarly, JP, because they've started similar to Derry, you could argue. They drew in Derry, they won in Pats actually pretty convincingly as well.
Yeah.
And obviously they went to Rovers and went 2-0 up as well. So from Sligo's point of view, you know, they've had a similar start to Derry, I think, as well, haven't they, in many ways?
Yeah. Oh, they definitely have. Like they've had good results as well. The worrying thing for Liam Buckley will be is when his team go 2-0 up, they don't seem to be able to see the game out. I know they'd won in some Pats, but they were hanging on in the last 10 after conceding. They could
after dominating for 75 minutes, they nearly drew the game.
After conceding an equaliser against Shamrock Rovers, again they were hanging on. McGinty's made a couple of great saves. They didn't deny Rovers from winning the game. So the positive for Liam Buckley will take it. He's gone to Richmond Park. He's gone to Brandywell. He's gone to Tala, and he's come away with 5 points. The disappointing thing he'll be disappointed is when he's been in Richmond and been in Tala, his team has been 2-0 up, and they've almost thrown away twice. But it's an excellent start for Sligo. The 2 teams in the Northwest, top of the table. Shamrock Rovers will want to start now, use this now after international break, start to kick on, because they're already 3 or 4 points behind Derry, who have a game in hand away at UCD. They'll not want to give Derry City any more ground. I know there's a long way to go for either team, and if there's any team that can overturn a 10-point lead or a 7-10-point lead, whatever, with 3/4 of the season to go, it's Shamrock Rovers. But as we said, they made a mistake the other night and they were punished. They made a mistake in the Brandywell and they were punished, and that's what you have to do against Shamrock Rovers. They don't give you a lot, but when they do give you something, you have to punish them. That's what Sligo done. That's what Derry done. That's what St. Pat's done. And it'll be worrying from Stephen Bradley's point of view that his teams are making mistakes, because for the last 2 or 3 years we haven't seen them make mistakes. If you've scored a goal against them, it's been a great goal. And as you say, Barry Cotter was actually looking up when he played the pass, so there's no. But look, we're 7 games in. The season's starting to take shape. And for Rovers, they'll not want to give up their crown too easy. So I expect a reaction in the next 3 to 4 games from them.
Absolutely. Look, lads, brilliant stuff. Thanks for coming on. Lads, subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the channel. Hit your bell notification. Like the video if you like the content, and let us know what you think down in the comments. There's a lot to feast on there.